I beg your pardon, but you've got Prancer where Vixen should be. I say you've got Prancer where Vixen should be. Put Prancer there and Vixen there. Well, I suppose no one but me would notice that anyhow.
Mrs. Walker! Mrs. Walker! Mrs. Walker!
Yes, Mr. Shellhammer?
An emergency call from 75th Street and Central Park West. The tub for the rub-a-dub-dub float is too small. There's no room for the candlestick maker.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm turning the crisis over to you. The parade starts in 11 minutes.
Mr. Shellhammer.
Yes?
Have the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker run up to 77th Street and trade places with Wink and Blink and a Nod. And have them change hats, too.
Why, Mother, what a smart idea.
Excellent, Mrs. Walker. Everything going smoothly out there?
Oh, yes, with one exception.
Yeah?
I just fired Santa Claus.
Oh, no. Why?
He was drunk.
Oh, ridiculous job anyway. A silly charade. Who needs it?
Oh. I beg your pardon. Could I persuade you to stand up straight and look a little more jolly?
Not me, brother.
You're the one they bounced, aren't you?
Nonsense. I resigned. I gotta get out of this hot, silly suit.
Well, you certainly do. You get out of that suit immediately. You can't malign me this way.
Malign? Malign?
Yes, you're not the man for this job at all. Go ahead,
I
get out.
agree. You know why? 'Cause there's nothing louder or stickier than a kid. I hate kids.
He hates kids.
Now, here is your hostess for West Clocks, lovely Betsy Palmer.
Good evening and welcome from West Clocks, the people who make the best Christmas presents that I've ever seen, just like my beautiful new West Clocks watch. What a thoughtful gift for a woman, and so special. It's the newest West Clocks of all, the Ballet, elegantly styled in gleaming gold color, and the miracle of this watch is it's priced at only $16.95. Some models have matching expansion bracelets, and others have tiny black nylon cords. One has a narrow strap of imported suede. These ballet watches by West Clocks are so new that this is the very first Christmas that you can give them. They're all lovely, and any one of them would make a marvelous gift. Imagine, only $16.95. Every West Clocks has an unbreakable mainspring. It's shock resistant and anti-magnetic too. And of course, it has West Clocks dependability. So dependable that all West Clocks watches have earned the Good Housekeeping Guarantee seal. So for a special gift, choose a lovely ballet watch. Comes in its own modern gift box for just $16.95. And for more Christmas gift ideas, let's look now at another series of beautiful watches, the West Clocks Coquettes. Fashion stars in the world of watches. Each style is new and different. They're really fashion accessories. Lovely watches that keep dependable West Clocks time because they have all the famous West Clocks features. And they're priced at only $12 and $13.95. See? West Clocks makes the best Christmas presents. West Clocks. It's a wonderful time to buy.
Better hurry. You'll be late.
I'll hurry too, Mother. Uncle Fred's waiting for me downstairs.
All right, Susan, now I want you to watch the whole parade from the front window of the apartment. The tape recorder's all set up, and if you see anything wrong, just dictate what it is, dear. That'll be a big help. There, you're all set.
I'll do fine, and Uncle Fred can help me.
Oh, Susan. Susan, I wish you wouldn't call him Uncle Fred.
But I know him too well to call him Mr. Gailey, and I'm not big enough to call him Fred the way you do.
But, Susan, calling him Uncle makes him sound a lot closer to us than he really is.
How close is he, anyway?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, dear.
I wish you liked him better.
Oh, I like Fred.
I wish you liked him well enough so something would happen.
Happen?
Sure, you could get married or something like that.
Susan, better run along, darling. Hurry, you'll be late.
Mrs. Walker, there is something we must get straight.
Can't talk to you now, Mr. Sawyer. We need a new Santa Claus. Let go of the button, Mr. Sawyer. I have to phone the agency.
Mrs. Walker, the rule is that nobody at Macy's can be fired without consulting the staff psychologist. That's me.
Please let go of the button, Mr. Sawyer.
Now, Mrs. Walker, I was hired to find out what bothers our people, what makes them unhappy, makes them un-Macy-like, and to psychologically rehabilitate them.
You couldn't rehabilitate that man. He was drunk.
Mrs. Walker, that was for me to decide.
There was no time.
Mrs. Walker.
Mr. Sawyer, I need a sober man in a red suit on a sled at 77th Street in 9 minutes.
Here I am.
Are you from the agency?
Well, no, not exactly. I just kind of, well, I thought that you might need me.
You'll be perfect. You won't even need padding.
Found anybody, Mrs. Walker?
Well, this man just arrived.
Excellent. What about a suit?
Oh, I have my own. It's 300 years old.
Then you have had experience as a Santa Claus.
Well, not as a Santa Claus, no. But as Santa Claus, yes, yes.
Let's hire him.
Now, wait a minute. This is where you get into trouble. You let me test him first.
There's not enough time.
Oh, you've only seen the shell of the man, the happy exterior. I can pry into his psyche for you.
Psyche?
Certainly. That way we'll know if you're really qualified for the job, inside and outside.
My dear Mr. Sawyer, there is only one qualification necessary for being me. And that's to like children and small animals. And I do.
You're hired.
Now, get dressed quickly. There's a helicopter on the roof, and you'll have to be up at 77th Street in 8 minutes.
Oh, I won't need the helicopter.
Oh, but how will you possibly get to 77th Street in 8 minutes?
Oh, my dear lady, when I say I'll be there, I'll be there. Psyche.
What a break. I suppose Mr. Macy had seen the other one.
Suppose Mr. Gimble had seen the other one.
Now, wait a minute. You didn't fill out his employment card. The state law is very clear on that subject.
All right, Mr. Sawyer. Hey, Mr.
Yeah,
Santa,
yeah.
you forgot to give me your name.
Oh, of course. My name is Kris Kringle.
Susie, those acrobats are wonderful. They're new this year.
Shh, Uncle Fred. The leader of the Bentleysville High School band seems to be lost.
That's the tallest Mickey Mouse I've ever seen. He's really a giant.
There are no giants, Uncle Fred.
Oh, not now, but what about in the old days?
Ridiculous. That's what Mother says. Ridiculous.
Yeah, well, what about that giant that Jack killed?
Jack who?
Jack the Giant Killer.
Never heard of him.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, my goodness. About half the gas has escaped from Willie the Whale. He's very, very soft. And the big clown with the light bug nose keeps losing his pants.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Susie, will you turn that thing off? We're supposed to be having fun.
But Mother asked me to report anything that went wrong.
But you're supposed to laugh when the old soggy whale and that big silly clown, when his pants fall down. You're supposed to get excited about the fact that any minute Santa Claus will come along
But
at
there
the
may
end.
not even be a Santa. Mother fired one just before the parade, and she wasn't sure she could get another one.
Ah, you know too much. You remind me of Mr. Hazlitt.
Who?
Mr. Herbert Hazlitt. He's the head of my law firm. He's 72 years old. Oh, Susie, it's all right for Mr. Hazlitt to be stodgy. But you're just a kid. You're supposed to do silly, crazy, goofy things.
Like what?
Well, like paying a visit to Santa's throne, having a laugh with him, getting excited about him, believe in him.
I feel so foolish.
Oh, come on.
Mother says I feel foolish.
You know, we're going to have a try at it anyway. He's due. Look, here he comes now. Hi, Santa.
You know, he's the best one they've ever had. He looks jolly.
Here I am.
Hello, dear.
Hello, Fred. How are my official parade watchers?
Having a fine time. Come and see the rest of it.
No, thanks, dear. I've seen it.
You know, Doris, I've seen everyone since I was 5 years old, and this is the best.
Oh, thanks, Fred. Did you like the acrobats?
Oh, I think they're wonderful.
Yeah,
yes.
they were the most expensive ones we ever had.
Well, let me take your coat off.
All right.
Guess what? Uncle Fred's going to take me to see Santa Claus.
Oh, now,
He
Fred.
wants me to get excited about it, and I am.
Sometimes I think you don't listen to a word I say.
No, no, dear lady. I'm a devoted listener.
But you know how I hate to have Susan getting involved with fairy tales, fantasies, myths, legends.
And ridiculous things like believing in Santa Claus?
Yes.
Why not?
Well, because she'll grow up looking at fantasy instead of reality. Because she'll keep looking for Prince Charming to come along. But it won't be Prince Charming. But she won't know it because her head will be in the clouds.
Wait, now, just a moment. We're talking about Susie, not about you.
Of course, we're talking about Susie.
Oh, Doris, let's face it. You had an unhappy marriage, and it scared you into becoming a self-sufficient realist. But if I ever do come into your life, if you ever let me in, I'm coming just as I am, imagination and all.
Santa Claus and all?
Santa Claus and all.
All right, Angel.
All right, Peter, now it's your turn.
Oh, and what do you want for Christmas, Peter?
I want a fireboat.
A fireboat.
It squirts real water. And I won't do it in the house. I promise. I've looked everywhere. I can't find one.
You want a fireboat, eh? Well, Peter, you'll get your fireboat.
Thank you, Santa. Thank
All
you.
right.
Say, I told you you'd get one for me.
Peter, now you just wait over there because Mommy wants to talk to Santa, too.
What do you mean telling him that? I've looked everywhere. They're just not making that kind of boat anymore.
Oh, I beg your pardon, ma'am, but they are. They're making fireboat here. I'll show you. You can get a fireboat at the Acme Toy Company on 5th Avenue. They're $8.50. Now, that's a bargain.
What?
Oh, you're surprised that I keep track of the toy market?
No, not that so much, but Macy's sending me to another store.
Well, why not? The big point is to make the children happy, not to who sells the toy. Now, don't you feel the same as I do?
Yes, but I never dreamed that Macy's did.
Bloomingdale's has just the thing, but you'd better get Johnny's wagon here. We've got the best in town.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Would you believe it, Santa Claus? I know a little girl who says she doesn't want anything for Christmas.
Well, I never heard that before. Do you mean to say that there isn't anything I can bring you?
No, sir. If I need anything that's sensible, my mother will get it for me. 10% off at Macy's.
Maybe you better let us chat for a minute, Mr. Gailey.
Yeah, sure.
How did you know Uncle Fred's name?
Oh, it was just sort of a, I don't know, I just thought of it, imagination. Who do you think I am, Susan?
A nice man my mother hired to play Santa Claus.
Oh, no, no. My name is Kris Kringle. I am Santa Claus. You don't believe that, eh?
My mother hired you, sir. What my mother doesn't believe, I don't. But you're the best-looking one I've ever seen. Your whiskers aren't loose at the sides.
Oh, my whiskers are real, just as I am real. Well, here, pull them, pull them. Go ahead. That's right, go ahead, don't be afraid. Go ahead, pull them all you want. Go on. Now, you see? Now, Susan, there are a lot of things I'd like to tell you about belief. And maybe about love and consideration. Am I talking over your head?
I don't think so, Mr. Kringle.
How's your noble experiment?
Fine, just fine.
You know, I've always told Susan that Santa was a myth.
Well, there's two sides to lots of questions.
She won't know what to think.
There's nothing wrong without knowing what to think, you know. I mean, it keeps the mind flexible.
I don't know what to think, but I like you.
You do? Well, Susan, that's a very wonderful beginning.
Sinterklaas!
Oh, hello.
Welche? Jij bent Sinterklaas, maar mijn moeder zei er was geen Sinterklaas.
Nigel. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. She doesn't understand English. We adopted her last month in Amsterdam.
Well, I'm glad you brought her. I'll speak Dutch to you. Sinterklaas is, glad haben Sie gekommen, do.
Mother, he's the best one you've ever had.
Did he convince you?
Well, his whiskers are real. When the Dutch girl came up, it started right out in Dutch.
Oh, Susan, darling, I speak French. That doesn't make me Joan of Arc. Oh, you just put him right out of your mind.
I can't do that.
Why not?
I liked him so much, I invited him to dinner.
I swear I had nothing to do with it.
That would make the M in there. Now, if I can get an X. There's an X. Now, there's an A. I think that about finishes it. Let's see. There it is there. My gnomes in Alaska make these all the time. Mrs. Walker, could I not persuade you to look a little more jolly?
Oh, it bothers me to hear these stories. Susan's an intelligent child interested in the absolute truth. Now, will you please tell her there's no such thing as Santa Claus?
Oh, that's the worst thing Santa could do is tell a lie. And that would be lying.
Oh, Chris, you're a wonderful mixer-upper.
Oh, he certainly is. I better get some coffee.
Susan's having a wonderful time. I hope Chris can come often.
Well, I don't.
Hey, you know something? Someday you're going to have to admit that this self-reliant, dignified spirit of yours isn't everything that you would like people to think. And when that day comes, you're going to need someone around to help.
It won't be Kris Kringle.
No, but I have a hunch it'll be me.
But, Susan, don't you think that that's a wonderful mix-up that I just told you? My Pomeranian actually thought he was a lion.
But it's silly, Chris. I couldn't believe I was a lion. I couldn't tell Ronnie that.
Well, it's just a matter of imagination. Now, what animal was Ronnie in the game?
A pig.
Pig. But he's really a child, eh?
That's what makes the game so silly.
I don't think it's silly.
But when you use your imagination, you see things that aren't really there. Doesn't that make you crazy?
Well, not really. Susan, to me, the imagination is a place all by itself. It's a different country. Now, you've heard of the British nation and the French nation and the Dutch nation? Well, this is the imagination. Oh, Susan, it's a wonderful place. Now, look, Susie, how would you like to be able to make snowballs in the summertime? Or drive a bus down Fifth Avenue? Or be on a sailing ship all your own and sail away, you know, on treasure hunts on the Caribbean Sea? Wouldn't you like that? How would you like to be the Statue of Liberty in the morning and in the afternoon fly south with a flock of geese?
Yes, I might.
Well, all you have to do is practice and learn to pretend. Now, the next time Ronnie asks you what kind of an animal you were, tell him you're a monkey.
But I don't know how to be a monkey.
Oh, of course you do. Come on. Now get in the spirit of it. Look, stand there. Now, a monkey, you know, always walks, he's bent forward a little. Now, you bend forward. That's right. Monkey has long arms, you see? Loose like that. That's it. Now, a monkey always has a big upper lip like, You put your lip up there. Come on. Put your tongue. That's it. Now, a monkey always makes noises, you know. That's it. Now, the wonderful part about playing a monkey is that you run all over everything. Go ahead now. Be a monkey. Go and pretend. Well, don't stop. Come on, Susie. Come around. Be a monkey. Come. That's it. Now, get up here. That's it. Now, the most wonderful part of being a monkey is a monkey always scratches. Don't forget that. That's right.
Susan.
It's amazing, Mother. I'm a monkey.
Good heavens, no. He's made monkeys of all of us.
Well, not exactly. Let's keep the record straight. I was protesting him. Mrs. Walker recommended him. You hired him. You're the monkeys. Not me, you. I'm not a monkey.
What's the matter? What's the matter?
Tell her.
Well, I felt from the beginning there was something fishy about this prize Santa of yours.
Well?
This morning I had my wife take my son, William Jr., through the line.
So?
Kris Kringle told Mrs. Sawyer to get William's sled at Gimbel's.
What?
Gimbel's.
Gimbals.
Gimbals.
Gimbel's.
Good heavens, no.
Well, don't worry, I can rescue you two. This is my perfect chance for a psychological rehabilitation. We can turn a traitor into a loyal Macy man.
Oh, there's not enough time.
There's just time enough to bounce Kringle out of here before Mr. Macy hears about it. Get Kringle in here on the carpet.
Mr. Shellhammer, I'm on the carpet. And could I persuade you to look a little more jolly?
No. I hear that you're sitting on our throne recommending other stores.
Well, I haven't tried to conceal it.
What about that list I gave you, the things to push?
Oh, I tore that up.
Now, see here, Kringle.
Oh, now look. To make a child take a toy that you bought too many of. Oh, Don't you think that's pretty commercial?
When you're in commerce, you've got to be commercial. First, we get a drunk for a Santa Claus, then we get a socialist. Next thing you know, we'll be hiring a Santa Claus with 2 heads.
Not if you let me test him.
Sorry, that's enough. I don't know what the world's coming to. Juvenile delinquency, inflation, a teacher shortage, the hydrogen bomb, and now this. I've never seen so much trouble.
Oh, my dear Mr. Shellhammer, there's always been trouble in the world. But there's never so much trouble that well, let me say that a little love and consideration won't fix up. That's what I'm all about.
Yes, I suppose so. Well, anyhow, Mr. Kringle, you're fired.
Hello. This is Betsy Palmer again, and still a great big kid about Christmas. And with a house full of thoughtful gift ideas from West Clocks for those most special names on your list. Gifts, in fact, for every room in the house. A bedroom clock. Well, West Clocks makes so many lovely ones, but my favorite is Baby Ben. Such a pretty little clock. And for only $6.95. And for just $7.95, Baby Ben comes with a luminous dial that you can read by day or by night. This famous West Clocks has such a quiet tick, and you can set his alarm for loud or soft, as you wish. For den or bedroom, the stunning new West Clocks Cascade with its jeweled cut case of lucite, clear, pink, or blue tint, very dashing in design. And for a living room, the rich-looking West Clocks Electric Sheraton with its solid mahogany case. There's a clock a man would go for. And by the way, have you ever thought of giving the man in your life a clock for his office? It's such a nice idea. And here's the very clock, the brand new West Clocks Electric Award. Its design is classic, its case is solid mahogany. But back to the lady of the house. See what West Clocks has for her kitchen this Christmas. The graceful frill electric wall clock, now in gleaming copper. And here is the most thrilling new West Clocks of all, sure to be a conversation piece in any home. The Parliament Electric Wall Clock, richly plated in sterling silver, luxurious and practical too. Mounts flush against the wall, and see how easy it is to set the hands. Oh, but time's up. And I've shown you only a few gift suggestions. West Clocks has a gift for everyone. A clock for every room in the house. So pick your favorites and give them for Christmas. Any West Clocks is always welcome. West Clocks, it's a wonderful time to buy.
Hey, Macy, just called to congratulate you on this new stunt. Imagine a store sending me to another store. I was floored.
Say, Mac, your Santa Claus just saved me $32. I'd like to buy him a drink.
Why, to think that a big organization like yours puts the Christmas spirit first. What a charming, unique idea.
Why didn't we think of this charming and unique idea? Gentlemen, every shopper in New York now thinks of Mr. Macy as a benevolent spirit, thinking only of the public welfare. And what does that make Gimble? A profiteering money grubber. Well, 2 can play at this game. From now on, we'll be sending some customers over to Mr. Macy's place.
Here at Macy's, our traditional pattern has been to hang on tightly to every customer. But Mr. Shellhammer and Mrs. Walker have started the most original, clever, heartwarming, and profitable sales policy in the history of New York retailing. Oh, on the face of it, idiotic, impossible. Macy sending customers to Gimbel's, Bloomingdale's, Stearns. We even sent a lady to Hutzler's in Baltimore. But it's worked. Look at this. Telegrams, phone calls, messages from the governor's wife, the mayor's wife, my wife, and 1,200 other folk expressing surprise and gratitude. This morning, I want you to meet the man responsible for this. I want you to carry his spirit, the spirit of Kris Kringle, back into your own departments and plant it firmly there. Mr. Shellhammer, will you please ask Mr. Kringle to come in?
I'm sorry, sir, but I can't.
Well, I know there's a long line of children waiting, but it'll only be for a moment.
Well, it's not that, sir.
Well?
We fired him.
What kind of retailing is that?
I never dreamed you'd like such a crazy scheme.
I'm crazy about this crazy scheme.
Oh, but there's another thing, Mr. Macy. He's crazy. Really crazy, I
Well,
mean.
no crazier than lots of other people. Poets, painters, hermits, television writers.
Yeah, but he actually believes that he's Santa Claus.
I don't care if he believes he's the Easter Bunny. Get him back!
Couldn't we get somebody else or somebody...
Excuse me, Mr. Shellhammer, but it would be very much to your advantage to get Kris Kringle back on our throne immediately.
He'll be all right if I give him a psychological rehabilitation.
Excellent.
My idea from the beginning.
There wasn't time.
Well, there is now. Now, you get him and bring him to me first.
We've got to find him first.
Well, his address is on his employment card.
Of course, his employment card.
All he put was the North Pole.
Then send someone to the North Pole. Oh, no, wait a minute. Now, let's look around town first. We've got to find him before Gimble finds him.
New York Harbor Police, Sergeant O'Toole. No, we didn't pick up any Santa Claus. The only thing we picked up in the past 24 hours is some flotsam and some jetsam.
Idlewild Control Tower, Mr. Freeman. We have no flight plans cleared for anybody in a sled, a Sputnik, or a flying saucer.
Bellevue receiving desk. Dr. Schneider, yes. No, we don't have a Santa Claus. I can give you a Robin Hood, 2 Napoleons, and a Rasputin. No Santa Claus.
Well, thanks anyway, Doctor.
Why must you find him tonight?
Well, because if I don't, my girl will lose her job, and I've looked and called all over the city, and Wait a second. I'll bet I know where he is.
Chris, I've thought it all over.
Well, that's always helpful, you know.
I've decided I'm going to give you your big chance.
Oh?
You see, I'd like to believe in you, but first I better put you to the test.
Oh, I see.
If you can make my 2 wishes come true, then I'll believe.
Oh, now, just a minute. Because a girl can't get every wish, a child can't get every wish, that doesn't mean there isn't any Santa Claus.
I thought you'd say that.
Oh, now, wait a minute. Sometimes a child wishes for something that it can never use, impossibly use, like a real locomotive.
Oh, these things aren't that big.
Oh.
First of all, I want a Christmas tree.
Oh, that's easy.
But not one of those tiny little blue ones like Mother always buys. I want a big, bright tree. A tree so big, you can't imagine how it ever got in the room.
All right.
Then, on Christmas Eve, I want to see Mother and Uncle Fred sitting together, right there where you are, Chris. And I want Mother to tell him yes, that he can come into our lives.
Oh, a real locomotive might be easier than that.
Can't do it.
Oh, I didn't say I couldn't do it. I just need some time to think it over, that's all.
Well, all right. You see, Chris, it'd be so good for Mother to have a man in the house.
What you really mean is that you'd like a father. Isn't that it?
Yes, Chris, that's it. But not just any father,
No?
Fred.
Oh, Fred. That's a pretty tall order.
Look, I'm on my lunch hour, too.
But I tell you that Chris will be back as soon as we find him.
Yes, I brought Willie all the way from Weehawken to see Mr. Kringle.
Please be patient. He'll be back as soon as we find him.
But it's very important to Willie that you do find him.
Well, it's important to me that we find him, too.
Here I am.
Chris Kringle.
Fred talked me into coming back. He didn't have to talk very hard.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chris. I was afraid you might not come back after all our...
Oh, no. We couldn't endanger your job, Doris. And besides that, I have to win you over, you know. And besides that, I have something to do for Susan. And besides that, this is the best publicity I've had in 50 years. You know, Christmas will not be lost in the Christmas rush. Not this year.
Hurry up, Mr. Kringle. I've got a long list.
Oh, Willie, I'll be back on my throne in no time.
Hey, but first you'll have to see Mr. Sawyer.
Oh, you mean in mental examination?
Well, we do it with all of our employees. There just wasn't time.
Oh, now, don't be upset about it. I'd rather see you smile anyway. As a matter of fact, I've had dozens of these mentality tests. And if they get too tough, I start throwing out questions of my own.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yes. Here's one will stop Mr. Sawyer right away. What is the tallest man-made structure in the United States? That's a good one.
Empire State Building.
Oh, no, it's a television tower in Roswell, New Mexico. Doris, that tower is 1,610 feet high. And do you know, on Christmas Eve, when I'm in my sleigh and I come near New Mexico, Oh, yes, I forgot. You don't like those Santa Claus stories, do you?
Now then, Mr. Kringle, if you will kindly observe this manual dexterity procedure with the greatest of care. After watching me, you should be able to separate the pieces in less than 32 seconds. Observe. Well, we'll return later to the manual dexterity procedure.
I could do that if you like.
No, never mind. Forget it. Next, we come to the...
Finger wiggle.
Yes, the finger wiggle. All right, now, please, how many fingers held up?
2.
How many?
4.
So much for the finger wiggle. Next on the list is the...
Historical test. George Washington was the first president of the United States. Jefferson's home was called Monticello. And Andrew Jackson,
Who
of course...
was the vice president under Millard Fillmore?
What is the tallest man-made structure in the United States?
Evasive, uncooperative, erratic. Kringle, I plan on using some of Dr. Freud's techniques on you. We'll reassemble your mind so that it's in closer contact with reality.
Whose?
Whose? Whose what?
Whose reality?
What are you talking about?
Well, Dr. Freud once told me that he wasn't quite certain as to what reality really was.
Dr. Freud is not the final authority. Dr. Freud told you.
Who knows that this is really a desk? Who knows that you are really William Sawyer?
Now, wait a minute, Kringle. Don't try and weasel out of this and change the subject. This is a desk, and I am Sawyer. It's your identity we're concerned about.
Oh, I know my identity, and I believe in it.
Well, nobody else believes in it.
Well, Mr. Gailey does, and he's one of the biggest attorneys on the North American continent.
Rigid, Kringle. Very rigid. Too much ego, too much super-ego, too much id.
Id?
Id, but we'll knock that out of you.
You'll knock nothing out of me, Mr. Sawyer.
We need a man who's clear and sure and steady in this job, Kringle, not a man who thinks he's a jolly old elf from the North Pole.
But I am a jolly old elf from the North Pole.
Oh, that's rubbish, Kringle, rubbish. Can't you get that through your head? Rubbish. Now, look at these ink blots.
Say, you can't speak to me that way.
Well, if I'm rough, it's for your own good.
I've had enough.
No, you haven't. You're going to stay here and get rehabilitated.
Now, look here.
Psychologically rehabilitated.
You get away from that door.
No, sir.
Mr. Sawyer, move.
No, never.
Move.
Never.
Move, I tell you. Rehabilitated psychologically. Crazy. Psychologist. I am Santa Claus. I'm Santa Claus. You're nuts.
And, here are the commitment papers, Your Honor. He keeps insisting he's Santa Claus, even after a week of tests at Bellevue.
Chris Kringle, eh? Been reading about
Yes,
him.
well, it's just a routine commitment.
What have the doctors determined?
Somewhat wacky and potentially dangerous.
In a way, I'm sorry to do this. I saw Kringle on the Dave Garroway show, and he seemed nice.
We can't have citizens going around bopping other citizens on the head.
I know.
Well, now, here, it's just a routine commitment, Your Honor. Nobody will blame you.
I hope not. In any case, I must invoke the majesty of the law. Come here.
Your Honor, please don't sign that. I'm Fred Gailey, attorney for the defense. I request an open hearing.
Oh, you mean it's not going to be routine?
Oh, no, sir, not at all.
Are you an accredited member of the New York Bar?
Yes, sir. Hazlip, Hazlip, and Hazlip.
Hazlip, Hazlip, and Hazlip. What in the world are Hazlip, Hazlip, and Hazlip doing with a case like this?
They don't know they've got it yet, sir.
Mr. Gailey, in the face of this massive medical evidence, why are you taking the case?
Well, it's merely that I think from time to time an attorney should do something purely in the interest of justice.
A commendable view. But one thing I've noticed in 20 years on the bench is how much avoidable trouble people get themselves into.
Oh, pardon me, Your Honor. There isn't any trouble in the world that is so hard that a little love and consideration couldn't fix it. That's what I'm all about.
You?
Yes, me, Santa Claus.
Oh, yes. Santa Claus.
Somewhat wacky and potentially dangerous.
The hearing will be at 9 tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Kringle?
Yes?
I'm a good judge. I'll be fair.
Oh, well, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
I'm known around the circuit as Fair Frank Harper. I won't rule before the evidence is in. But I think you should know that as of the moment, from a strictly legal viewpoint, you're nuttier than a fruitcake.
Do you ever wonder what men talk about while they're waiting for us to finish Christmas shopping? Well, just listen. You never know when or where you might get a gift idea.
Oh, excuse me, sir. Do you happen to have the right time? My watch stopped. I must have forgot to wind it.
Sure. Winds your watch? He still winds his watch.
Yes.
Take a look at my West clocks. It's self-winding.
Self-winding?
Sure, the natural movement of my wrist during the day is enough to keep it ticking all night long.
All night long, huh?
Even if I don't wear it to bed.
Yeah, I've always wanted one of those self-winding watches, but, well, of course, mine has so many of the luxury features, you know. It's waterproof.
My West clocks is, too.
Dustproof?
Same here.
Shock resistant?
Mm-hmm.
Anti-magnetic?
Mine, too.
Sir, my watch has an unbreakable mainspring.
Unbreakable mainspring.
How much did your West clock set you back?
Only $15.95.
$15.95?
Remember, no other watch at this low price brings you all these features and yet has that famous Westclox dependability. How's that for a gift idea? A new Westclox self-winding watch. This waterproof beauty is only $15.95. And that's not all. There's more big news. These new self-winding Westclox watches and all other Westclox watches have earned the Good Housekeeping Guarantee seal. Added assurance of Westclox dependability. Westclox watches make such fine gifts, and Christmas is going to be here before you know it. So you'd better shop now, tomorrow, while you have the best selection. For delightful, dependable gifts, choose Westclox. It's a wonderful time to buy.
Isn't there any way that this entire matter can be dropped?
I'd like to see it drop myself, sir. Not just for Kringle's sake, but for your sake and Mr. Gimbel's sake, Mr. Gailey's sake, not to mention my own sake.
But what about my sake?
Your sake, too, Mr. Sawyer, everybody's sake.
Well, then why not?
Because once the law is invoked, then we must follow it wherever it leads. The majesty of the law lies in its inescapability.
Well, then the mistake was in invoking the law.
Yes, the mistake was in creating contention at Christmas time.
I'll turn part 3, Mr. Justice Frank Harper presiding. All those having business with this court come near and ye shall be heard. The court is now in session.
Counsel, could I persuade you to sit up, and look a little jolly?
I'd like to, Chris, but I've never gone into a case knowing so little of what I'm going to say.
Oh, it's all right. Just improvise, that's all.
Mr. Mara, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. In the matter of Chris Kringle, you already have the commitment papers. I call Mr. Christopher Kringle.
The name is Chris. Good morning, Your Honor.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I always have, and I do.
Be seated. Will you state your name, please?
My name is Chris Kringle.
And, what is your age?
Well, I'm pretty old. I'm pretty old.
I object, Your Honor. The answer is not responsive.
Mr. Kringle, I hope you're not just being facetious. I don't mind a good solid gag, but I detest facetiousness in my courtroom.
Oh, no, sir, no, sir. I was really born before records were regularly kept. And I am pretty old.
I see. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, where do you live?
Well, usually at 90 degrees north latitude. Temporarily, I have been remanded to the excellent and thoughtful care of the New York Department of Detention.
Mr. Kringle, do you actually believe that you are Santa Claus?
Why, I do, and I am. I am Santa Claus.
State rest, Your Honor.
You asked for the hearing, Mr. Gailey. Do you wish to put forward a defense?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. I am aware of my client's beliefs, but the complicated tests and reports all boil down to one thing. They say that Mr. Kringle is not sane because he believes himself to be Santa Claus.
Do you have a way around this logical and reasonable conclusion?
Well, it would be logical if the clerk or Mr. Mara or I believed that we were Santa Claus, but
Mr. Gailey, anybody who believes that they are Santa Claus is insane.
not necessarily. You, sir, are Judge Frank Harper. There's no doubt about that. You are Judge Frank Harper.
Mr. Kringle is the subject of this hearing.
Well, then, if he is the person he believes himself to be, just as you are, then he is sane, right?
Young man, are you actually setting out to prove that...
Yes, Your Honor. I intend to prove that Kris Kringle is Santa Claus.
Are you ready to proceed immediately?
No, sir. I called for a recess. A long one.
Granted.
Well, hello there. What are you doing here?
The question is, what are you doing here?
Well, I'm the defense attorney trying to figure out the defense.
You mean you actually took this case?
Sure.
And Hazlett fired you?
He certainly did. He said it wasn't dignified.
Fred, you're throwing away your whole career on some goofy, sentimental whim.
No, not at all. Chris deserves a good defense. After all, he saved your job. He created a whole new world for Susan, and, well, I believe in him.
And now you're trying to get the whole state of New York to believe.
It ain't easy.
Come on, we got to get you out of here right now.
No, thanks. I'm staying.
Why, it's fantastic. Completely fantastic.
Maybe, but if I can find a fantastic loophole in the law, I think I can get him off.
There's no fantasy in the law.
Darling, there's fantasy everywhere. You, the hard-headed realist, yet here you are. That's really a victory for fantasy. You know, things of the spirit.
Come on now. I just don't understand, Fred. I came down here to try to talk you out of this whole thing.
But why? If you believe all these things you say, why haven't you thrown me over already? Is there any cool, logical, precise reason for you to be here? None. Yet here you are anyway, involved.
Fred, you mix me up just the way Chris mixes up Susan.
Darling, please stop trying to figure everything out. You love me. You're concerned about Chris. There's nothing logical about it. It's just human. Doris?
Goodbye, Fred.
Now, Mr. Macy, you're a hard-headed, efficient, realistic retailer.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mara, but retailing isn't as hard and fast as you might think. You need a kind of dreamy intuition to make the grade.
You do?
Yes. Well, take the case where I send a man to Italy to buy crockery and glassware. He has to go all the way out to some little pottery north of Rome and stand there in the middle of a freezing winter trying to decide what kind of dinner plates a Bronx housewife will want 6 months later. If he hits it right, it's a miracle. That's what I think.
You wouldn't have any qualms either about admitting the existence of Santa Claus.
None whatsoever.
Thank you.
Mr. Macy, we can begin your rehabilitation in the morning.
Mr. Sawyer, you're fired.
Your Honor, if I may inquire, Mr. Gailey has put 4 witnesses on the stand who state that they believe in Santa Claus. I'd like to know if he's going to follow this line with the same group of... with the same group.
Mr. Gailey?
Oh, yes, Your Honor. I have 32 more witnesses who believe in Santa Claus. The first is a Mr. John Paul Pizarro, a Texas billionaire.
Excuse me, Your Honor, but in the interest of speed, the state of New York will make an extraordinary concession. The state of New York hereby concedes the existence of Santa Claus.
You know, counsel, I think I'll go over and shake that man's hand.
No, not yet, Chris. We haven't won.
Now we ask Mr. Gailey to cease presenting personal opinion as evidence and to submit proof positive that Kris Kringle is the one and the only Santa Claus.
I'm afraid I must concur.
I see what you mean.
Mr. Gailey, are you prepared to show on the basis of competent authority that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus?
Your Honor, I call for a recess.
All right. But first let me say this. The ordinary rules of evidence do not seem to apply in this hearing. As a matter of fact, hardly anything seems to apply in this hearing. But before you bring in a competent authority, will you please be sure your authority is competent?
Could Your Honor be a little more specific?
I can. Let's say, for example, you bring back a poet. Put him on the stand, and the poet testifies that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus, for he has a belly that shakes like a bowl full of jelly. I would not regard that as competent authority. Court stands in recess until 2 p.m.
It's a phone call for you in the judge's chambers.
Oh, that must be one of the fellas from the North Pole calling me.
No, it's a little girl.
Oh,
Hello? Hello, Chris? I wanted you to know that I went to a party today, and I won the prize. I was 7 animals. The last one was a mother tiger protecting her young. Chris, I miss you. I miss you a lot. When can you come and see me again?
Oh, the minute that the trial is over, Susie.
And listen, Chris, I just wrote you a letter to cheer you up. Where should I send it?
Well, you have a pencil? Well, now, here's my address, Susie. You address it to Kris Kringle, New York County Courthouse, Center and Pearl Streets, New York City, New York. Yes, I'm glad you didn't send it to the North Pole. For some reason or other, all the letters addressed to the North Pole are sent to a place called the Dead Letter Office. Oh, it's terrible. You'd think that after all these years, the Post Office Department would know where to find me.
You'd think that after all these years, the kids would give up. Huh? You know, I've seen them write to Santa Claus North Pole and Santa Claus South Pole. But here's a kid who writes to him at the New York County Courthouse.
Oh, the kid's right, Al. They got him on trial over there. He claims he's Santa Claus, and the DA claims he's nuts.
Another one for the dead letter file. Hey, what did I do? I gotta send this down to the guy.
You got a what?
Well, it's a breach of postal regulations to willfully misdirect the mail.
Yeah, that's right. If it's got a legitimate address on it, that's where you gotta send it. Hey, wait a minute. I just got struck with an idea.
An idea?
How many of these Santa Claus things we got stuck over at Dead Letter?
I don't know exactly. Maybe 80, 90,000 of them. Bags and bags all over the joint. I got 3 more to go over now.
All right. If we send this one to the county courthouse, don't we have to send them all? Ain't that logical? Ain't that legitimate?
Lou, my friend, that is a great idea. Not only will we not be breaching the regulations, but we're rid of the whole lousy mess.
Your Honor, tonight is Christmas Eve. We're all anxious to get home. I ask that you sign these commitment papers immediately.
Mr. Gailey?
Your Honor, I should like to submit the following facts concerning the United States Post Office Department.
The Post Office Department?
The Post Office Department.
Yes, sir. The Post Office Department was created by the Second Continental Congress, July the 26th, 1776.
I object, Your Honor. The material is irrelevant.
Irrelevant? It's my whole case.
Then proceed.
The U.S. postal laws and regulations make it a criminal offense to willfully misdirect mail or intentionally deliver mail to another party.
Excuse me, Your Honor, but in the interest of speed, the state of New York will make an extraordinary concession and concede that the Post Office Department is accurate and efficient.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. In that case, Your Honor, I should like to offer in evidence 5 letters. Right here they are. You will see the first one is from a Miss Susan Walker, and it was addressed to Santa Claus, care of the New York County Courthouse. That letter has been delivered to Mr. Kringle. The next 2 were addressed to Santa Claus, care of the North Pole, and they have been delivered to Mr. Kringle. The last 2 are merely addressed Santa Claus, and they have been delivered to Mr. Kringle.
But 5 letters, Your Honor. Hardly proof positive.
Oh, well, I have further exhibits, Your Honor, but I hesitate to produce them.
Well, Mr. Gailey, I'm sure we'd all like to see them.
Yes, sir. Just bring them in, Mr. Gailey. Put them on the table.
Yes, bailiff.
All right, boys.
These letters are addressed to Santa Claus. The Post Office Department has delivered them. Now, the Post Office is a competent agency of the federal government. Therefore, the United States of America recognizes this man, Kris Kringle, as Santa Claus. I submit this court should, too.
This court will not dispute the competence of the United States of America. You, sir, incredible, bizarre, and cockeyed though it may seem, are Santa Claus. I'm just curious, why did you, Santa Claus, whack Mr. Sawyer?
Haven't you heard? He's nuttier than a fruitcake.
I don't care what Judge Harper said. Kris Kringle's a fake.
Now, Susie. How can you be so sure?
It's Christmas Eve and he only brought one wish. The easy one.
Well, what was that?
The tree.
Well, Susan, Kris Kringle didn't bring the tree.
He didn't? Then he's the biggest fake in the whole world.
Susie, please. Now, Susan. Susie, dear. Sooner or later, you have to face up to him.
No, he was my friend. I trusted him.
Susie, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Kris Kringle did bring the tree after all.
You think so?
Yes.
Do you really think so?
Yes. I really think so.
And what about my big wish?
Well, perhaps it was too big.
Kris said it was bigger than a locomotive. But it's funny, Mother. It really wasn't a thing at all. It was just a happening.
Well, maybe it'll happen next year.
I hope so, Mother.
Good night, dear. Merry Christmas.
Mother?
Yes, dear?
Do you know what my big wish was?
I think I do. Night.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas.
Well, congratulations, Fred.
Thank you. Between you and me, I didn't think I had a chance. Not only did I win, but I got a good job in the bargain.
It's wonderful, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought you might be interested because I haven't seen you since our little misunderstanding.
Oh, I'm very interested, Fred.
Well, good. It's with a stable old firm, Abercrombie, Baker, Caldwell, Darwin, Emerson, Fruchbaum, and now Gailey. They said they hired me because I was imaginative. Oh, say, this is a beautiful tree. How come you didn't put up the, the little blue one?
Because somebody got here with this one first.
No, who did?
You?
No, not me.
Well, you must have.
I swear I had nothing to do. Wait a second.
What is this?
There's the answer.
What?
It's Christmas Eve.
Oh?
You remember once you told me that someday I'd give up my fierce reasoning?
Yes, also your fierce independence. Don't leave that out.
Well, I think I've just given them up.
Oh, I never thought a change of heart could be a Christmas present, but this is quite the nicest one I've ever had.
Susie. Merry Christmas.
Chris! Why, Chris, you came back. But how'd you get in?
Oh, I came in the back way.
Then you did bring the tree.
Well, of course I did. But when I was hanging the star on top of the tree, I hung my cane on one of the branches and I forgot it. I came back to try to find it. Come on, you help me. Come on. Sit in here, I'm sure.
That's my best wish.
And you thought I couldn't do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, you go back to bed now. You go ahead. I'll see you next year. Now, you be a good girl, you know. Eat your vegetables. And don't forget to use your imagination.
All right.
Good night.
Chris,
Yeah?
how are you going to get out?
Oh, the same way I came in, the back way.
Chris, there's no back way into the apartment.
Oh, I know.
Merry Christmas, Santa Claus.
Oh, Merry Christmas, darling. Merry Christmas.
Your postmaster suggests, to avoid last-minute rush, mail early and often. Next week, see Art Carney in his comedy review, Very Important People, in color, on The Art Carney Show. Now stay tuned for M Squad, starring Lee Marvin, next on most of these NBC stations.